It is yet another away defeat for Eddie Howe's Newcastle in a 6 point affair in that mid-section of the Premier League table that might have just consigned Newcastle to no European football next season. Chelsea really do feel like they're on a bit of an upward trajectory, and although if you were to really boil this match down, the surface level answer is Newcastle didn't really turn up, and the quality of the players in their squads versus the Chelsea squads that was available is really the difference in what we've seen in this game. And yeah, the individual goals to one side, really when you boil it down, Chelsea bought this game. But seeing the way the game unfolded and knowing how this season has unfolded for both of these teams to this point so far, it really does feel that the problems that Newcastle have had, kind of lurking in the background thanks to their transfer policy back in the summer is really now holding them back, and it's really stopping them from, like Newcastle had no right, to score 2 goals in this game, 0.8 XG and 3 shots on target. But the level that they've been operating at keeps them in these types of games, and I thought this could have been an away match where it was going to be a famous win for the Geordies this season because they haven't been winning on the road, and Chelsea, who have been on the ropes, Mauricio Pochettino, who have been a major critic of, I was very impressed with the way Chelsea actually played this game out on the pitch, because having seen the game, the way everything did fold out on the pitch, yes, the weaknesses and the mistakes of the Newcastle transfer policy and squads were there for all to see. But it starts to feel like the transfer policy and, a bit of cohesion is starting to pay off now a little bit for Chelsea. And really, if this is a sign of what is to come, with Chelsea's game in hand, they could very quickly be in the driving seat in this little mini league here from 11th to 7th, trying to fight in for those final European places, depending on cup positions and coefficients and whatever. No one's precisely sure of all the positions and what they'll get, so everyone is just scrambling to finish as high as possible. In the video today, we're going to look at exactly where the game was won and lost for both teams at any point. If you do enjoy this type of content, you want to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button for more, hit the like button, and get into the comment section and let me know what your big takeaway from the game was, who won it, who lost it, and anything else in between. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, the opening 30 minutes was a good kind of high energy affair that, the game was on a knife edge. No team was particularly dominating possession or whatever, but especially in the opening kind of 15 or 20 minutes, Conor Gallagher was pressed right high up next to Nicholas Jackson, and Chelsea were almost playing a kind of 4-2-4 kind of thing whenever Newcastle were trying to play out from the back, or whenever Newcastle were trying to, get out of their own half. And the energy that Gallagher gave in that initial period really did put the cat in amongst the pigeons for the Newcastle defence, and really had the nerves, jangled very early on. And then as the game later progressed on, Newcastle had some good play in the first half. Everything was coming down the right-hand side here for Tino Livramento in the Kieran Trippier right-back playmaker role, and he was put on the ball incessantly, had a lot of good opportunities to travel with the ball and really show what he was made of. And the pressure of this job to either play the ball into the channel and find Almiron, Isak, anyone else that might be coming on the diagonal is there 100%. On this side of the pitch, but Cucurella, Chalobah, and then the midfield pivot here of Caicedo and Enzo, really, Almiron was on to nothing down this side of the pitch, and Longstaff did nothing to help him. It really did feel that Almiron was up here all by himself. And then, very quickly, Gallagher, once he's came off being the bit of the false forward in that kind of pressing job here, just comes out to the left side of the pitch here and almost attaches himself to Livramento and makes all of this even more difficult for Newcastle, because Burn isn't going to become a playmaker and do anything, be a bit of an outlet for them. So this really, for Chelsea, they just go man for man almost and basically stifle them. But then that opens up a huge kind of paradox problem here for Newcastle, because as they bring players over to this side of the pitch to try and interact with the play and try and, make the most of the possession they've got and try and create an opportunity for someone to cut in, they're of the opinion Chelsea are lopsided. They've got everyone over this side of the pitch here. Palmer's tucking in, and it's just Gordon on this side here with Gusto, and he's got Burn over this side as well. So Gordon thinks, I can just leave Gusto. He's one-on-one with Burn. And yeah, a lot of stuff's going to be made about Gordon didn't track the man and, all the rest of it. But for me, this is a bit of ingenious play for Chelsea, being that kind of lopsided. If you think about the midfield three, Caicedo and Enzo are firmly the centre mid engine room here. And Gallagher, I said, just basically attached himself into left midfield to stifle anything that Livramento could bring out. So it's a bit of a lopsided midfield three, which I think gives Gordon this real false sense of security. And I think Gallagher, the job he did on Livramento, never mind anyone else he came anywhere near on the pitch, I thought he was brilliant today. For me, he was the man of the match. By the time Almiron and Gordon swap wings, and then Gordon has got Cucurella on a bit of toast, because Gordon isn't dependent on pace like Almiron. He's very much more a technical, attacking, gifted, talent player. And Cucurella struggles to deal with him a little bit more. And equally, Gusto is, a pace merchant. So him and Almiron's maybe a little bit more of a comparable kind of face-up, as it were. But with Gordon going off injured very quickly thereafter, I was nervous that this was going to take the wind out of Newcastle's sails. But Alexander Isak with a trademark goal, really fantastic effort from him. Lovely pass from Bruno to find him. Brings the score level for half-time. And you're thinking this game is still on a knife edge. Newcastle have still got the weapons to go on and win this game. And Chelsea are looking good, but they've been quite flaky all season. And if you're Newcastle, you want to have a few different options in this game. And you can see with what we're talking about in the midfield here in terms of Enzo and Caicedo moving around the pitch as a pair. If one of them's winning the ball, they're giving it to the other one, or, just dominating and controlling the play. Newcastle are trying to do this with the whole kind of 888 thing that we said on the channel a few months ago. And it can work, and it does work in certain occasions, don't get me wrong. But in this situation here, where Bruno is by far and away the best midfield operator in the team, the most dangerous player box to box, and potentially, the most influential player in the midfield battle against a really competent and a really capable midfield three here. Gallagher being really busy falling into pockets, particularly on the left. With Enzo and Caicedo. Yeah, it's like Xavi and Iniesta-esque. They're not the same types of players totally, but the job they're doing and the way they're operating and orchestrating their midfield for me is very similar. Having Bruno being so restricted as being the defensive midfielder for me is where Newcastle coming into the second half lose something, because Longstaff continues to not contribute and become more of a hindrance for me than anything. And when you've also then got Murphy on this side, you've lost another key attacking piece in here. You really want to be able to get your more influential player into the best position possible. And Newcastle not having any recognisable defensive midfielder. And I know they've got injuries, but even if everyone's available, except for like a Tonali type or something like that, they've not recruited someone like that could just fill that role. And I know later in the game, Miley comes in for Bruno, and he also gets a bit of a, you might say, fortuitous assist for Jacob Murphy's consolation goal. But not having the ability to get Bruno higher up on the pitch, it's just for me the biggest hindrance in this, because for Cole Palmer's second goal, when he's dropping between the lines and he takes that shot from the edge of the box, yeah, the goalkeeper is totally in the wrong position, and everyone's talking about the ball in between the lines and how he's had a couple of touches. But you're allowing Willock to do this job alongside Bruno, and they've been going box to box. The team's pretty ragged anyway. Longstaff isn't helping out too much, and like I say, they're not winning many of their 50-50 battles. So you can forgive some of this stuff, but if you had a recognised centre defensive midfielder in this role here, and Bruno was doing this job, you're probably going to get a better result ultimately throughout this game. And it's not necessarily that Willock is the problem. I would probably lay way more of not the blame. Blame's not the correct word, but the tactical pressure on where Newcastle have dropped the ball here is their third midfield contribution. Willock wasn't great either, don't get me wrong, but he did arrive in the right spaces. He did try and link up play when he could at both ends of the pitch. He is dropping in deep here for Cole Palmer's second goal. He's unlucky to not be better defensively, but I don't think you expect that really from that kind of Joe Willock type player in your team, especially in this kind of whole 888 shape. You are expecting him to do that, and I suppose be switched on to it, but Joe Willock, he's not known for his defensive attributes. And Palmer is scintillating in this game, by the way. He's absolutely phenomenal all the way through the match. I can't really highlight that enough, but with the tools at my disposal, I am quite limited, But I think that really the turning point for when I thought Newcastle are still in this was when Elliot Anderson came on, because if Elliot Anderson's fit enough to be playing, I don't know how he doesn't start in this team ahead of Longstaff, because he travelled across the pitch very well. He had good energy. He wasn't really second to much. And from the point that he came on the pitch, it did feel that Newcastle all of a sudden could do something in midfield. They could start to build an attack. They could start to link up some play and maybe cause Chelsea some more problems. Palmer comes out more and more to this side, of course, and then we see the substitution Sterling for Mudryk. Now, Mudryk's goal was probably one of the few glimpses we've seen in his Chelsea career of what he was doing in the Champions League. Again, I got to see him in the Champions League and cut Celtic open a few times there and looked phenomenal. And the sort of pace that we've seen for the goal when he goes past the goalkeeper and just about gets it over the line is definitely what Chelsea were expecting to get when they spent all that money and outbidded Arsenal for him. And having him much more as a central kind of straight to goal type player, I think is going to benefit him a lot. Gallagher very flukily gets credited with the assist for this, and I really do think that that does kind of put the cherry on top of the cake at his performance and give him some sort of cred for the effort he put in. Because I say this kind of lopsided midfield role he managed to do in quite a lot of the game I thought was phenomenal. And I say as the game went on, Palmer comes on here, and then later in the match, Cassidy comes on for him. And this kind of midfield four that Chelsea adopted 3-1 up later on in the game is very interesting and could be very useful for them later on. I don't think this guy did particularly well, to be honest with you. I think Newcastle got a lot of change out this side of the pitch, and ultimately, I know Jacob Murphy scores from this side here from a Lewis Miley assist. He gets credited with that after doing the defender on the turn and taking the shot from here. But I thought this was an interesting shape from Chelsea, and it could be a sign of things to come in terms of the tactical fluidity that they might be able to offer when they've got more of their players fit and available, and some different routes to go they're going to have in this race for the European spot. But Newcastle are now really maybe relying on a bit of a cup miracle against Man City to get over the line, and a lot of these substitutions, bringing Bruno off at the 80th minute when it goes to 3-1, as well as the other ones that were managed through the game. The word is Burn is fine, Gordon's kind of unknown, it was a pain in his knee or something. You've probably heard the comments from Eddie Howe after the match, but really the cup is where they've got to be putting all their hopes and dreams right now at Newcastle, because after this, Chelsea are really, for me, in the driving seat now to get these European spots sewn up in the league table. Because seeing them in 11th and seeing the amount of money they've spent and the quality of the team here, people do feel like it should be a false position and a lot of pressure's on their manager. And I do feel that there's going to be more and more pressure coming Eddie Howe's way because this away form is not good. And Jamie Carragher highlighting on Monday Night Football that he is reverting to the mean of Bournemouth Eddie Howe. That just rings alarm bells for me personally. So I think he's going to become a man under pressure to nail this summer transfer window, because let's imagine worst case scenario, they don't get European football, then there is absolutely no excuse for them not to have the sort of season that like Tottenham are having this time around. And when we look at the changes both teams have made, it really does come down to what I said in the intro of the video. Chelsea have bought this victory, but able to bring off the bench players like Mudryk, Casadi, I don't know how to say his name, who was on loan at Leicester, who are running away with the division below, as well as all the money they spent on the rest of the team, as you know, over the years. Nico Jackson in the summer as well, Raheem Sterling, who was substituted earlier in this little video. But there's a lot of admiration to be had. It's quite continental what Newcastle are doing in terms of bringing on guys like White and Anderson and Longstaff, and doesn't mean too much if you don't finish in the top half of the table. I predicted this game, Newcastle were going to win it 2-1, and when Chelsea winning it 3-2, seeing both the goals that Cole Palmer was involved in especially, I do feel that I kind of predicted how this game actually went, but you've got then that random freak occurrence of quality in football, better players taking risks at the right opportunity, backing themselves, backing their talent, seeing opportunities and seeing mistakes from the opposition and absolutely crucifying them. And like I say, I just don't think Newcastle had enough of that in their arsenal, in their repertoire. Let me know what you think down in the comment section of the video. On screen and now is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.